In the center of the galaxy, a place called the Velar Union ruled many star systems. It was a peaceful group of many alien races. These races had great technology, beautiful cities, and big space fleets, but they had grown soft. They had not. For a real war in hundreds of years. One day, a strange signal came from deep space. It was a distress call, very old and full of static. The message repeated one sentence in a broken voice. The swarm has returned. Beware, the Cathar. The Galactic Council met in the Grand Hall on the planet Velaris Prime. All the powerful races were there. The insect-like Crow, the tall blue Ashari, the stone-skinned Gron, and many others filled the giant hall. Floating holograms of the signal played above their heads. Fear spread quickly. Everyone had heard the stories. Long ago, before the Union even existed, there was a race called the Cathar Swarm. It was not one species, but many, all controlled by a hive mind. They destroyed everything in their path. Planets were eaten, stars were darkened. Only ruins remained, but the Cathar had vanished thousands of years ago. Now, it seemed they had returned. Chancellor Velith, a wise old Ashari, spoke first. "We must investigate carefully," she said, her voice soft. "Panic will only cause chaos." General Kor of the Gron shook his heavy head. "No, we must prepare for war. But we need time. Let us build more ships first," others argued. Some wanted to hide behind defense shields. Others said they should wait and see if the threat was real. Many races did not want to lose ships or soldiers die in the back of the hall. One voice broke through the noise. A human voice. Commander Alara Mason stood up. She wore a dark blue Earth Forces uniform with a silver star on her chest. Her short brown hair was tied back. Her eyes were calm but strong. "If the Cathar are truly back," she said, "then waiting is the worst thing we can do." All eyes turned to her. Some laughed quietly. Others frowned. "You humans are always quick to act," said a floating alien diplomat. "But this is not your concern." Alara stepped forward. "Let me tell you what is our concern. Earth may be young in galactic terms. We may not have thousands of years of history. But we know what danger looks like, and we do not run from it." She paused and looked around the hall. "If the Cathar are rising again, then we must strike now. Before they spread, before they grow. You say you need time? Every minute we wait, they grow stronger. My people will not wait. If no one else will act, we will." The hall went silent. Chancellor Velith raised a hand. "Commander Mason, you speak with passion. But humans are few, and not strong enough to stop such a threat alone." Alara smiled. "You'd be surprised what humans can do when we're alone." 3 days later, the human fleet launched from Earth. The mission was called Operation First Flame. Its goal was simple: go to the edge of the signal's origin and find out the truth. If the Cathar were there, eliminate them. The human fleet wasn't the biggest. It had 12 warships, 3 science vessels, and 1 carrier named HSS Valor. The ships were fast, sharp, and full of powerful AI systems. But the most important part was the people. Every human on board knew they might not return. Still, they chose to go. In orbit around Saturn, Alara stood on the bridge of the Valor. The stars stretched far ahead like a black sea. Behind her, crew members checked systems, studied maps, and sent final messages home. "Fleet is ready, Commander," said Captain Reynold, her second in command. Alara nodded. "Engage, jump." One by one, the ships disappeared into glowing portals of blue light. The stars shifted. They jumped across space in seconds. They arrived at the edge of a dead system. A red dwarf star gave off weak light, rounded, broken. Planets floated like shattered glass. The signal came from one of those worlds, Sector 17G. Human scouts moved in first. They found something terrifying. A Cathar outpost. It was a living structure, dark, twisted, and pulsing with green light. Strange insect-like creatures crawled over it. Some flew on bio-wings. Others dragged metal parts from old ships into the hive to feed it. The swarm had indeed returned. Alara watched the live feed with cold eyes. "So it's true," she whispered. She turned to her officers. "Prepare for immediate strike." The battle began within hours. Human ships moved fast and quiet. Drones flew ahead, mapping the enemy. Then came the missiles, fast, smart, and deadly. The Cathar reacted like one creature. Their flying beasts rose from the hive. Their bioships came from underground tunnels. But humans had planned for this. They unleashed EMP charges that broke swarm communication. They used AI-guided cannons that adapted after every shot. Fighters danced between enemy fire, taking down ships 3 times their size. Still, it wasn't easy. The Cathar kept coming. They didn't feel fear. They didn't stop. A science vessel was lost, then a corvette. But the humans didn't run. They fought harder. Captain Reynolds' ship, the HSS Dawnfire, crashed into the hive directly, exploding in a wave of fire that shattered the heart of the swarm base. By sunrise, the outpost was gone. The Cathar were defeated for now. Back on Valara's prime, the news spread fast. Humans had done what no one else dared. They had confirmed the return of the swarm, and they had won the first battle. Many aliens were shocked. How did they do it? Asked one ambassador. They don't have fear like us, said another. Or maybe they're just as stubborn to give up. Some call it luck, others call it madness. But one thing was clear. Humanity had acted when no one else would, and that action lit a spark across the galaxy. The giant space station hung silently above a purple planet, glowing with bright lights and golden rings. It was called the Galactic Culinary Arena, a special place where chefs from all across the universe came to compete. This year, the Intergalactic Food Federation was hosting the most important cooking contest in the galaxy. Inside the arena, the crowd was buzzing. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the seats. Some had feathers, some had scales, and some floated in small hover chairs. Everyone was excited to see who would win the Galactic Chef crown. At the center of the arena stood Chef Groktal of Zarnax. He was tall, with blue-green skin and 6 arms. His eyes glowed yellow, and his 3 long fingers moved like dancing fire. Groktal was famous across 5-star systems. His cooking was considered art. He had won 10 gold stars to cosmic medals, and had his own cooking show, Galactic Flavor Storm. Groktal looked proud and confident. He held up a shiny ladle and spoke in a deep voice. I, Groktal, will once again prove that Zarnax cuisine is the best in the universe. No one dares challenge me. The audience cheered. A group of flying jellyfish waved glow sticks in the air. But then a soft voice came from behind the curtain. Excuse me, I think I'm your opponent. Groktal turned. Standing there was a young human woman in a simple white apron. Her name was Lena Moore, a chef from Earth. She was small compared to Groktal. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail, and her face showed calm determination. Groktal stared at her, then laughed a loud, echoing laugh. You, a human, competing with me. What will you cook? Mud pies, burned meat on sticks, some of the alien audience laughed along. Others looked confused. Many had never tasted human food before. Groktal waved one of his 6 hands. Earth food is nothing but salt and smoke. It has no structure, no elegance. This is a joke. Lena didn't get angry. She simply smiled. You might be surprised. The announcer, a silver robot with spinning eyes, floated down and spoke into the microphone. Welcome to the Galactic Culinary Battle. Today's match, Chef Groktal of Zarnax versus Lena Moore of Earth. The lights dimmed. A large hologram of the ingredients spun in the air. The theme was announced, comfort food from your home planet. Groktal stepped into his kitchen booth. His 6 arms moved fast, grabbing glowing fruits, starfish herbs, and flame peppers. He sliced and stirred with skill and speed. His pot floated in the air, spinning gently, as he added blue mist spices. Let's show them true taste, he muttered. Lena walked calmly to her side. She opened a small cooler she had brought from Earth. Inside were simple things: bread, butter, cheese, tomatoes, garlic, cream, and herbs. The alien camera zoomed in. What is that? A brick? One alien asked, pointing to the bread. She's going to cook that, another whispered. Lena turned on her stove. She began roasting tomatoes and garlic. The smell slowly spread. It was warm, earthy, and soft. Then she made a smooth tomato soup and grilled a sandwich with golden brown cheese melting from the sides. Grilled cheese and tomato soup, she said softly. Grottel sniffed the air. For a moment, his face changed. His nose twitched, but then he frowned and shook his head. Simple. Weak, child food, he said. The judges floated forward. There were 3 of them. Judge Rinks, a plant being from Galaron. Judge Miltox, a floating brain with tentacles. Judge Rima, a robot with taste sensors. They first tasted Grottel's dish. It sparkled with color. The flavors were sharp, spicy, and full of power. The judges nodded. Very good. Strong skill, said Judge Miltox. Then they came to Lena. She placed her plate with care. The grilled sandwich cut into triangles. The soup in a warm bowl with a swirl of cream on top. Judge Rinks tasted the soup. He froze. His leaves shivered. Strange. I feel calm, like I'm sitting under the sun. Judge Miltox tried a bite of the sandwich. Odd. My memory sensors are firing. I feel like a youngling again. Judge Rima beeped softly. This dish gives emotion, warmth, peace. The crowd went quiet. Even Grottel's eyes widened. How? He whispered. The scores were shown on the big screen. Grottel, 89 100ths. Lena, 91 100ths. There was silence. Then a huge cheer. The crowd clapped and roared. Even some of Grottel's fans started chanting, Earth food! Earth food! Grottel stood still. His arms dropped to his sides. He had never lost the first round before. He looked at Lena, who simply wiped her hands and smiled gently. It's not about fancy tools, she said. Sometimes. Food is about home. Grottel didn't reply. He turned slowly and walked off the stage, but his mind was racing. How did something so simple make the judges feel something? That night, Grottel sat in his private room, staring at a small cube screen. He had searched Earth recipes online. He found pictures of pancakes, noodles, stews, and pies. He frowned. There's more to this human food than I thought, he whispered. Then, he did something he never thought he would do. He ordered a human hamburger from the arena kitchen. As he took the first bite, his eyes widened. What is this magic? He gasped. The Cathar swarm had been hurt, but not destroyed. Humanity had won to battles. They had burned to hives. They had made the galaxy believe again in courage. But the swarm was not finished. It had noticed Earth. It had noticed Alara Mason. And now it was coming. Deep in dark space, near the edge of the Sol system, strange signals began to appear. Telescopes on Pluto's moon Charon picked them up first. They were fast, sharp, and cold Cathar signals. A storm was coming. In Earth's orbit, the Global Defense Council met in a special session. Commanders, scientists, and leaders from all nations sat around the table. Commander Alara Mason appeared on the main screen from the HSS Valor. They're sending a fleet, she said. At least 50 swarm ships, some small, some large. One, massive. What's their target? Asked General Lee from Earth's Northern Command. Alara looked straight into the camera. Earth. The planet did not panic. Earth had faced danger before. It had learned to stand, not run. Now, it would defend itself. Factories across the globe worked day and night. Satellites were armed. Space stations were upgraded. Even the moon was turned into a defense base, with rail cannons and missile silos hidden in craters. Mars sent its fleets. Stations in Jupiter's orbit were evacuated and turned into shield points. Neptune's moons became early warning beacons. Every human, from farmers to pilots, knew something big was coming. Alara Mason stood at the front of the defense. Her fleet joined Earth's orbital forces. The Chess Valor, now a legend in the galaxy, became the flagship of Earth's hope. On the bridge, her officers prepared quietly. How long do we have? She asked. 17 hours, said Lieutenant Nash. Then they'll reach Saturn's orbit. Move the fleet to Mars' orbit, Alara ordered. That's where we make our stand. As the human fleet moved into position, millions on Earth watched the sky. Children looked through telescopes. Families gathered in shelters. Soldiers checked their weapons. pilots ran flight checks again and again. There was no fear in their eyes, only fire. 17 hours passed. The swarm arrived. First came the scouts, small, fast ships shaped like insects. They flew past Neptune. Then Uranus, scanning and recording. Then came the swarm fleet, big, black ships moved like a living wave. Their hulls were made of bone and metal. Their engines glowed with green fire. And behind them came the Hive Titan. It was the size of a small moon. Its surface moved like something alive. Its core pulsed with red light. Contact at 0.9 light speed, said Nash. Hold fire until they cross Mars line. Alara replied. We hit them where we're ready. Earth's fleet waited in silence. Then the first swarm ships crossed the line. Fire all forward batteries. The sky lit up. Missiles flew like shooting stars. Railguns fired metal slugs faster than sound. Laser beams danced between ships. The first wave of swarm ships exploded. But more came, and more, and more. The battle above Mars shook the heavens. Human ships moved in groups, covering each other, drawing the swarm into traps. Drones flew ahead, breaking enemy formations. The moon base launched surprise attacks. Fighters from Earth flew through Cathar clouds, blasting from below. Every satellite station and weapon joined the fight. It was the biggest space battle in human history. But the Cathar were endless. Even as hundreds fell, more came forward. The Hive Titan moved slowly, ignoring everything. It was heading for Earth. Alara knew what it was doing. It's not here to fight, she whispered. It's here to land. Once on Earth, the swarm could spread like a disease. Cities would fall. Oceans would turn black. She couldn't let that happen. Focus fire on the Titan, Alara ordered. All ships turned toward the giant creature. But its armor was thick. Its shields were strong. Lasers barely scratched it. Missiles bounced off its shell. Then it fired. A red beam from its center shot through space. One human battleship, HSS Thunderfall, was hit. It vanished in seconds. Back on Earth, people watched the battle live. When the Thunderfall was lost, silence spread. But only for a moment. Then came a roar. People shouted. Pray. Sang. They did not lose hope. On the bridge of the Valor, Alara paced. We can't stop it with guns, Reynold said. Then we stop it with something else, she replied. She pulled up the battle map. There's a gas cloud near Venus. If we can lure it in, we can trap it. But how? Asked Nash. Alara looked at the screen. We take the Valorant close, get its attention, and lead it. Everyone stared. That's suicide, Reynolds said quietly. Elara looked calm. We don't run. Not now. The Valor broke formation and flew straight at the Hive Titan. It fired again and again. The Titan turned. It followed. Behind them, the rest of the fleet regrouped. Keep it busy, said General Lee from Earth. We'll handle the rest. The chase began. Through space, round planets, the small human ship flew ahead of the giant beast. Every second was danger. Every second was history. As they neared the gas cloud, Alara gave the signal. Now. Hidden ships inside the cloud activated. They fired EMPs. They dropped mines. They launched gravity traps. The Titan slowed. Its shields cracked. Its weapons failed. Then boomed. A massive explosion from inside the cloud. The Hive Titan burned. Pieces flew in all directions. Cheers broke out across the system. The rest of the swarm, leaderless, panicked. Human fleets attacked from all sides. By the time the sun rose on Earth, the sky was clear. The Cathar were gone. For now, back on Earth, the people cheered. Flags waved. Lights danced in cities. Not because the war was over, but because they had won. Because they had stood when no one else did. The battle for Earth was over. The Cathar swarm had been stopped at the edge of the Sol system. Their Hive Titan had been destroyed. Their ships scattered into the dark. But it wasn't the end. Everyone knew it. The swarm was still out there sleeping. In other systems, growing in hidden hives, and waiting for the right moment to strike again. Still, something had changed. The galaxy had watched Earth stand alone and win. News of the victory spread across the stars. On the peaceful world of Telmora, Young aliens gathered around public screens, watching the battle replay. They saw human ships fly into danger. They saw brave pilots fight massive swarm beasts. They saw the Hive Titan fall. They did it, whispered a tall, thin alien girl. The humans really did it. On the frozen moon of Droska 5, a group of retired soldiers from the bird-like Visari race sat in silence. One finally said, "Maybe it's time we stop waiting." All across the Velar Union, change began to grow. In the Grand Council Hall of the Union, leaders met once again. The air was tense. For weeks, they had stayed quiet, hoping Earth would fall or win alone. Now they had no excuses. Ambassador Tharn, a cold-blooded reptilian from the Zelk, stood up. "The humans may be reckless, but we can no longer deny their courage. Courage is not the same as victory," argued Counselor Marrow of the Crow. "The swarm is ancient. Many more hives will rise. And what will we do?" asked Alara Mason, appearing on a large screen from orbit around Earth. "Wait for them to come to your worlds, like they came to mine." Silence. Alara continued. "You say you are old, wise, peaceful. But peace means nothing if you're not ready to protect it." A few ambassadors looked away. Others nodded slowly. One voice stood up. It was Ambassador Saline of the Ashari, a tall blue-skinned race known for their art, not war. "My people do not have many warships," Saline said. "But we will send what we can. We will fight." Then another dot, not all, but enough within days. Ships from different worlds began to arrive in Earth's orbit. Some were old, some were small, some had not flown in years. But they came. The first united fleet in galactic history was being born. Humans worked quickly to refit the alien ships with shared systems. Engineers from different species stood side by side in hangars. Mechanics used human tools on alien engines. Translators helped crews speak to each other. Laughter began to grow among strangers. For the first time ever, the galaxy was learning to work together. Alara Mason was chosen as fleet commander, not because humans wanted power, but because no one else had fought the swarm and survived. She accepted with one promise: we're not building a human army, we're building a galactic shield. The fleet had a new name, the Starfire Alliance. Its symbol was simple: a flame wrapped in a circle of stars. Their first mission was dangerous. A signal had been detected from the Zarvan sector, near the edge of known space. It was a warning beacon from a mining colony. The message was short: "Swarm awakening. Need help." No one else had responded. Now, the Starfire fleet would. The fleet jumped together through hyperspace. More than 50 ships, human, Ashari, Vesari, Telmarin, and even one quiet Grand dreadnought. The ships exited near a brown dwarf star. The mining colony floated on a rocky moon nearby, or what was left of it. The colony was half destroyed. Hive growths covered the buildings. Swarm drones flew in the sky, but some lights still blinked. "There are survivors," said Dr. Lena Rios from the Valor. "Not many." Alara gave the order. "We go in." The battle began fast. Human fighters led the way, drawing out the swarm. Vesari strike ships flew in tight groups, their bird-like pilots diving and turning with grace. Ashari engineers disabled enemy towers. With high-frequency pulses, Grand cannons fired giant energy blasts from orbit. The sky was filled with fire and smoke. On the ground, Alara led a rescue team to the colony. They moved through tunnels filled with hive matter. Strange sounds echoed. Swarm crawlers waited in shadows, but they pushed forward. They found 27 survivors, miners, children, engineers, all weak, but alive. "We thought no one would come," one old miner said, tears in his eyes. "You were wrong," Alara replied. After 2 hours of battle, the hive was destroyed. Fires burned across the moon. The survivors were brought back to the fleet. The Starfire Alliance had won its first mission. More than that, it had shown what was possible. Back in the Union's outer worlds, more messages began to come in, from hidden rebel groups, from free thinkers, from old warriors. They said the same thing: "We want to join." But not everyone was happy. Some Union leaders feared that humanity was becoming too strong. "Earth cannot lead us all," they said. They Act without asking. But others replied, then why didn't you act before? Even among the Union Council, cracks began to appear. The fire was spreading. In her private quarters aboard the Valor, Alara looked at a growing map. Red dots marked swarm activity. Green lights marked allied systems, still more red than green. But each day, more lights turned on. Reynold entered with a report. Another planet has sent help. The Arnari, you remember them? The ones who said we were too loud and emotional. Alara smiled. They just sent a battleship named Hopeful. Dawn. Alara laughed softly. Maybe they're starting to understand us. That night, across the stars, something strange happened for the first time in a long time. Hope returned in simple homes on far planets. Families looked up at the sky and whispered stories of the humans who didn't wait in deep bunkers. Old soldiers pulled out their uniforms again, and in the heart of the galaxy, a small flame burned brighter. The Starfire Alliance had grown. Dozens of species had joined the cause. Ships from different worlds now flew together under one banner. They had defended Earth. They had saved colonies. They had shown the galaxy that unity was possible. But the Cathar swarm was not defeated. Not yet. Commander Alara Mason stood in the command room of the Chef's Valor, watching a large map of the galaxy. Red lights blinked across the screen locations where Cathar hives were growing. Some were hidden inside dead stars. Others were buried under old planets. But one dot blinked brighter than all the rest. Cathar Prime, the heart of the swarm. A place no ship had ever returned from. Alara turned to her officers. That's where it ends, she said. We go to the source. We finish this. In the days that followed, the Starfire Alliance prepared for its greatest battle. Shipyards across many worlds worked without rest. New weapons were tested. Shields were upgraded. Medical units stocked. Every ship, even civilians, volunteered to help however they could. Every crew member knew the truth. This could be the last fight. But still, no one stepped back. The final fleet gathered near Saturn. More than 100 ships formed into perfect lines. Human dreadnoughts, Ashari pulse cruisers, Visari swift wings, Gron heavy guns, and many more. It was the largest fleet ever seen in the galaxy. Alara Mason stood on the Valor's bridge, wearing her dark uniform, silver star shining. Her voice came through every speaker across the fleet. This is not just a human fight. This is not just an alliance mission. This is a fight for every world, every city, every child who dreams of peace. The swarm does not stop, so we must stop it together. We are Starfire, and we burn bright. With that, the fleet jumped. Lights flashed, stars shifted. They arrived in the dark. Cathar Prime was not a planet, it was a living world. A massive sphere covered in black hive. Matter, green rivers of energy flowed across its surface. Giant towers reached into space, moving slowly like breathing lungs round it. Thousands of Cathar ships waited. The swarm knew they were coming. They were ready. So was the Alliance. The battle began like a thunderstorm. Swarm ships flew in waves, dark and fast. Their weapons fired beams of green light. But the Alliance was ready. Human AI-guided missiles struck first, opening paths through the enemy. Gron cannons blasted through lines of small ships. Vistari fighters zipped between enemies, hitting weak points. Ashari tech ships sent out EMP pulses that shut down swarm comms above the living world. The fleets clashed like titans. The HSS Dawnfire, once thought destroyed, returned with new armor and led the charge through the center. Keep pushing, shouted Captain Reynold over the comms. We break through here. Dozens of alien ships followed behind, forming a spear. The Cathar responded with a new monster ship shaped like a spider, with long claws and spinning energy orbs. It fired at everything. 3 Alliance ships exploded. But then, a Telmaran stealth bomber flew under it, planting charges. The spider ship burst into flame, falling toward Cathar Prime. The way was open. Alara's voice came again. All forward teams prepare for ground assault. Dropships launched from carriers. Thousands of soldiers, human and alien, descended to the surface of Cathar Prime. They landed in stormy weather. The sky was black. The ground was alive, soft, and glowing. Cathar beast waited, tall and fast, with sharp claws and no fear. The battle on the ground was wild. Alara led one of the squads herself. Beside her, a Vesari wing captain flew overhead, dropping fire from the sky. A Grand warrior slammed his energy hammer into the ground, creating shockwaves. Humans, Ashari, and others fought back to dash back. The goal reached the hive core, the center of the swarm's mind. The closer they got, the stranger everything became. Walls whispered, ground pulsed, and in the air, something spoke, a voice, not one, many, all at once. You are too late. We are endless. Alara ignored it. We're almost there, she shouted. The hive core stood ahead, a giant crystal glowing with green light. It pulsed like a beating heart. Cathar creatures came from all sides, but the Alliance soldiers formed a ring. They held the line. Dr. Lena Rios ran forward with a small device. It's a core destabilizer, she said. It will take 2 minutes. Hold the line, Alara shouted. 2 minutes of fire and blood. Swarm creatures charged. Some flew. Some crawled. But the ring never broke. A young human soldier stood over an injured Ashari and kept firing. An old Vasari scout, with one wing torn, blocked a tunnel with his last grenade. Time ticked down. Dr. Rios shouted. Done. Fall back. Alara ordered. Everyone ran. The hive core exploded in green and white light. A shockwave passed through the ground, the sky, and even space. In orbit. The Cathar ships began to freeze, then fall. Without their core, the swarm mind was broken. Some ships crashed into each other, others drifted. Silent and dead. The battle was over. The swarm was no more. Cheers broke out on every ship, across every screen. In every heart. The war was finished. Later, on Valaris Prime, the Union called a special gathering. This time, Earth was not just a guest. It was the guest of honor. Alara Mason stood in the grand hall. Her face was tired but proud. Chancellor Vela stepped forward. You stood when none of us did. You lit a fire when we sat in darkness. You reminded us what it means to protect life. The whole hall stood and clapped. Earth was now part of the council. But more than that, it was a symbol. Back on Earth, people returned to their lives. The skies were clear again. Families laughed. Children dreamed. And somewhere in the stars, new friendships began. The Starfire Alliance remained, not as a weapon, but as a promise. A promise that when danger returns, someone will stand, even if they stand alone.